Up next, we have the Wonder Woman of attorneys, the dynamic, powerful Freya Shoffner to answer most of your legal questions.
Woohoo!
So please, without further ado, Freya Shoffner. Freya, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to have the chance to answer your questions.
Oh, thank you. So what I want you to do is to start off by telling our audience what is your area of expertise.
Thank you for asking. My firm is very small, Shoffner & Associates. We're located in the Prudential Tower in Boston, and our focus is taking care of small businesses. So what we strive to do is to be able to deal with any issue that a small business might encounter. Along with that, over the years, we've added a concentration in estate planning. So whether or not somebody is in a small business or associated with a small business, we do estate planning for a wide variety of families. Traditional families, non-traditional families, all kinds of families.
Yeah. And that's very important to have. A lot of people, so you do wills as well.
That's
estate, right?
That's a good question. What's estate plan?
Right.
Yeah, that's important.
And what the easiest way to think about it is your estate plan is the pot that holds your gold. So whatever your assets are, your estate plan is set up to hold those and to protect those while you're young, while you're healthy, if you're sick, at death, and after. And these days, I tell everyone, if you're over 18 and you own anything in your own name, you need an estate plan.
Absolutely.
Other things that come in with a basic estate plan could be your will.
Right.
Everyone should also designate someone as their health care agent.
Yeah,
And that's something that college kids run into. They go off to college, they go skiing, they get hurt. Their parents can't find out anything about them because, oh, I'm sorry, your son turned 18 yesterday.
That's crazy.
We can't tell you anything.
Oh, wow.
We can't even tell you if he's here.
See, I didn't know that. I
Yes.
just
Why
figured
am I
you're
still
the parent.
supporting him?
Right.
Oh,
I didn't know that either.
No.
Yeah, that's
no.
crazy.
Certificate, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Oh my
Once
God.
once your child is 18, then their medical records are entirely their own private records, and they're
Important to know.
So you're 18 years old. My kid's 18th birthday. There's your blueberry muffin with the candle in it, family tradition, and you're going to fill out the form, and tonight we'll execute your basic documents.
My first note, neither of my kids have a health proxy. I know they don't, so I have to put that down in my notes. That's
Put it
great
down
to
and
know.
make a
Yeah,
note.
that's really great to know.
Yes. The other document that everybody over 18 needs is what's called a durable power of attorney. This is where you designate someone to do your business in case you can't.
Right.
Same thing. Kid goes off to college, goes skiing, gets hurt. Well, who's going to pay their credit card bill so their credit doesn't get messed up?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You have to have that power. You have to have the power to
Go
into
take
their
over.
account, go to the bank,
Yeah.
take over, do what you have to do until they get better.
So what you're saying is different than in terms of just being on someone's account. You're talking about something else that kind of encompasses all of that, so you have all the legal rights to all of that.
Yeah, for example, dealing with their school. Again, they're over 18, no one at the college is going to talk to you unless you have this document.
Wow.
So that you can go in and either, defer their status or, whatever you need to do in case your kid can't.
Wow.
So that's something they certify with you, and then God forbid something happened to your child or your spouse or somebody, you just get a copy of this, and you're eligible to go to different banks and let them know
do what you
all
have
legal
to do.
documents.
To take
That's
care.
a powerful piece of paper.
Yeah, to take care of business for your kids, because we just figure that's my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
wrong.
got you.
That's another adult.
Yeah.
That was my thinking.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not really feeling old enough to have children over 18, but it happens.
Yeah.
So that's part of the estate plan. And then the will simply says, whatever I own in my own name, I'm appointing Michelle to have to take care of my business. And Michelle's the one who's responsible for distributing my stuff to whoever I designate. And it's a formal process. You go through your local county court to, quote, probate your will. It really, you'll hear all kinds of ads on TV about avoid probate. It doesn't have to be that big a deal. And for somebody who's, for example, in college, they've got a couple of bank accounts. You know, maybe grandmother gave them some savings bonds. Okay, and maybe they've got, you know, $300 in their bank account. The will is going to designate how that should go. And they might, they might want it to go to their brothers and sisters, but maybe they want to give something to a special friend. So it doesn't have to be frightened. It doesn't have to be a big deal. From that point, as you get older and your assets become more sophisticated, there are a variety of documents that you can use, again, to hold your pot of gold. And so based on your circumstances, what you want to do, what your concerns are, your attorney drafts one or several different documents so that you know that while you're well, if you get sick, at death and beyond, your business is being managed the way that you want it to be managed. Moving on to my friends who have their own businesses.
So how much would something like this cost?
Well, it depends on what you want to do.
Okay.
For example, if I were to go...
What's the starting point?
The starting point could be as little as, just for durable power of attorney and healthcare proxy, you might pay as little as $75.
Okay.
And then...
That's feasible, very feasible.
Yeah. And then from there, depending on, again, the structure of the document, even a will can be very simple or can be very complicated. So it depends on what you want to accomplish, and at our firm it also depends on what your budget is, because there's no sense in, well, first of all, selling you something that's too big for you.
Right, yeah, that's important.
And, so, you might have a friend who needs 17 different pieces to their estate plan. You might only need 2 or 3, so yours is going to be a lot less expensive. Usually attorneys will quote you a flat fee for an estate plan, so you won't find yourself paying by the hour.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, that's good to know. That's very informative. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, what are some of your biggest obstacles that people come running to you about, and it's hard for you to handle it because they haven't done the legal things that they need to do prior?
With estate planning, a lot of those emergencies are really sad.
Yeah.
I had an acquaintance of mine called me up last year, and her problem was that her son had about $1,200 worth of assets. He committed suicide.
Oh, wow. That's so sad.
Awful. He hadn't written a will. And he was 22, she didn't even really know what bank his account was at.
Oh, that's sad.
So that was a tough one. The most complicated situations that I deal with in general have to do with blended families.
Oh, yeah. And that's so common right now?
Very, very common. And we want to run into a variety of different situations. For example, we had 2 wives and their 2 children who had different biological fathers and different biological mothers, because both of my clients were reproductively challenged. So in that situation, you work with the surrogacy agency and the surrogacy attorneys to make sure that the children are legally only the children of my clients.
Wow.
Gotcha. By blood.
Nobody was related by blood.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody was
Oh,
related
okay.
by blood. It was surrogacy. So we had, we'll call the first baby Bobby. Okay, and Bobby had a biological mother and father. And then Sally had a different biological mother and father.
Yeah.
But their real moms were two entirely different people.
Right.
So that gets interesting.
Wow.
Very.
And you also have to be careful to keep up on your estate plan. A lot of times
Things
people
change.
say, yeah, things change. Things change, attitudes change, needs change, and your children's spouses change.
Right.
When I first started in practice, my partner was one of Boston's oldest attorneys. He was 85
Wow.
when we started practicing together. And he would always say to people, after you die, you won't have a problem with your children. It's their
Yep.
spouses. It's their spouses.
I saw that, yeah, somewhere. I read that.
Oh, you read it all over
I
the
read
place.
that in like one of my classes. I read that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's their spouses.
Yeah.
So again, if you have Bob and Mary, they're married, they're divorced, they put their children together, they get older, and let's just say that Bob and Mary are on their second marriage, but they stay together for 30 years. Okay, but they had all their children first, and their children are all married.
Wow.
Okay, it's going to be the spouse of Mary's stepson who starts the problem. So those are the things that, for me, are really fun to plan around.
Yeah.
Right.
When I meet with meet with Bob and Mary, okay,
Yeah.
talk to me about your children.
Yep.
Talk to me about their spouses. Which of your son-in-laws has a drinking problem?
Wow.
Wow.
Come
Yeah.
on.
You got to get to know them
Yeah.
before you can
But
plan. We got to
we
know
all
the family.
You
we
think you know them, but you don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And your daughter-in-law, you just happened to run into your daughter-in-law at Mario's last week with another man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Okay.
soap opera.
Yeah, a reality show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So all of this interesting stuff is what goes into estate planning. Because remember I talked about protecting your assets?
Right.
And protecting your asset no matter what happens.
Right.
No, absolutely no matter what happens. Another client of mine was married to a man who, years before it became fashionable, did a Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh, okay.
Changed gender.
Oh, Lord.
And then he remarried.
Yep.
And the thing is, they still own property together because they had,
Right.
rental properties and stuff. So now her concern is, if I die, is my ex-husband's husband going to come after my money?
Oh,
Sticky.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be a problem.
Um,
Unless he left all his assets to his husband.
right. And then she ends up owning all their rental property jointly with
Her
the
new husband.
the ex-husband's husband.
You got to
Right?
show it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
The ex-husband's husband.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I thought-
yeah.
But all those things should be settled upon divorce.
Well, they did.
Right?
They divorced, but they continued to manage. They had
Together.
They had
Oh,
a
yeah,
business,
yeah.
and they didn't dissolve the business in their divorce. They each kept their 50% share. And continued to run the business together because the reason they divorced had nothing to do with not
Business.
getting along.
Yeah.
It had to do with the fact that he
Yeah.
just
Yep.
didn't
Yeah.
Right.
want to be a man anymore.
Oh, man.
Which
My
brings us
goodness.
back to what you said in the beginning. As you set it up originally, but as things change, you have to remember to go back in when your circumstances change, when things change in life,
Yes.
and update them
And update,
accordingly.
right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Absolutely.
and
So important.
And the reality is that it's not just updating because your daughter got married and changed her name. And very often we end up updating for circumstances that, might come right off of an episode of the Kardashians. or
Right,
something
exactly.
Like that.
Right.
Because that's real life.
Yeah.
It gets ugly
It does.
when deaths happen, and it's time now to start, who
Yeah.
gets what and so forth. So,
Oh, it does.
no, I get it.
It sounds
it.
complicated, but at least you can talk to an attorney and just find out what you need to do, even if it's the minimum of what you need to do. Like one piece of paper, $75, that will save a lot of red tape.
It's 2 pieces of paper.
Oh, 2 pieces of paper.
Well, we
But you know
want
what?
His and hers.
The biggest misconception, though, I think, is people equate wills and estate planning
Right.
with assets and money. And they feel like, if you mention that to someone, oh, you should get a will, you should, do some estate. I ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
I don't got,
Right.
because they think you have to have a whole lot.
like mansions.
You'll be surprised,
And
yeah.
cars and-
No,
Yeah.
no,
So
really, it's
size of assets is irrelevant.
doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you own anything in your own name.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your 401k, I hope you've all named a beneficiary.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, your life insurance, you've named your beneficiaries,
Yes,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and I can't tell you how many people I run into and it's still their ex-husband's name on their insurance.
my
We don't
God.
have that problem.
And these things are very important to
Right.
have.
So important.
Yes,
Yeah.
so,
But can easily
wanna
go get lost and people not do it. Like
Yeah.
you said, you
Just,
got to
yeah.
pay attention.
do you have your final thoughts, Freya?
Final thoughts.
Yeah, because we have to wrap it up.
We gotta
Time
wrap it
flies.
up. I
You
know,
have to have
time flies.
fun.
This is important.
We're going to have to have Freya on again.
Yes,
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts, remember, estate planning is really about how do you protect your assets now, if you get sick, at death, and beyond. And if you have any questions, we're always available at Shoffner and Associates, at shoffnerassociates.com. We're always there, and by the way, your initial consultation doesn't cost anything.
Nice.
And thank you
Awesome.
very much.
And thank you,
wow.
Freya, for being on our show today and explaining to us a little about wills and estate planning. So thank you to my viewers, and thank you to everyone here on the panel. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time on
Hidden
Hidden gems.
Gems.